Hey, welcome to the new wellness where I interview some people that can help us with our health. And by the way, my name is Marie-France Garon. And today we have Sean Olson. And let me tell you just a little bit about Sean. We're going to talk about water drinking crash course. That's interesting. But first of all, Sean is an energistic and realistic health improvement expert, and he's helping people get and stay in shape in a realistic way that they can stick to it for the rest of their life. So, with nearly a decade of experience as a personal trainer, he's helped hundreds of people create and improve health and lifestyle routines. Now, he's specialized in programs that allow you to lose weight, the weight that you want, without having to get to the gym or to stick to a really crazy diet plan. So that's really, really interesting. So let's have a chat with Sean today about drinking water. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's great to be here. So we are going to be coming back week after week with a number of different topics related to health and wellness. Not only about how to go from where you are to where you want to be, but also how to stay there. So much of what I teach people is about creating sustainable lifestyles, not about rushing to the end result, because there's never been a single person I've ever talked to that said, hey, I want to get healthy by next week, but only for a little while.
Yeah.
Right? The whole goal is to get there and stay there. So the
Mm,
things that we're going to cover in this are realistic adaptations that you can do for long enough in your life that they simply become habit, that you no longer have to think about or schedule them in because it's just part of how you operate every day. Okay. So the
sounds good.
stuff that I'm teaching is also things that I do. This is also very important, is there's a lot of concept relay out there is what I call it, where people hear an idea and then they talk about it. I only do experience relay. I share the things that I do in my own world. Okay. So number one, hydration crash course. Fancy words for, you need to drink some water. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to go through today, and I have 4 factors that are absolutely crucial for this hydration domination. All right, we want to make sure that we are taking care of water as such a big piece of our health, because number one, our bodies are 75% water. That number
Mm,
might go up and down a little bit depending on how much water you drink, but we're about 3/4 made of water. So it's very important that we pay attention to putting back enough water into our system so that our body can operate the way that it needs to. Okay, it does so many things because water is available. And when it's not available, it gets real scary real fast.
yeah.
You've probably heard, statistics like you can go without food for a week or two or four. I don't know. There's people go on crazy long fasting
Yeah.
plans where they just don't eat anything for a really long period of time. I don't recommend that, number one. But number two is your body can go a long time without food. Without water, 3 days, maybe 7 if you are magical. Okay. But after
Mm,
a week of no water, there's very few people who are going to be even alive. And during that time, you can be causing permanent damage to yourself if you are not staying properly hydrated. If you get to severe dehydration levels, you can really, really cause some damage. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over these 4 factors. They're very basic, so don't be afraid. You probably already know how to swallow water, so I'm not going to teach you that part. We're going to teach all the other pieces that go around the actual swallowing of water. Okay.
sounds
So the
good.
number one thing that we've got to pay attention to when we're trying to include daily hydration. Okay. Number one, it has to be daily, but the first thing that we're going to pay attention to is source. Where do you get your water? Because you can't drink water that you don't have. So number one is you have to have water. So for me, I've got this bad boy right here. It's 5 gallons sitting on top of a water cooler.
Yeah.
I also have, I'm not good at like down here somewhere, you guys
Uh-huh.
can see. I got
Yeah.
a little extra bottle
A
down there.
bottle. Yeah.
So for me, my choice of source for the water that I drink every day is this bottle. Okay, this water cooler. This does a number of things for me. Number one is it gives me a large quantity of water to work with. I don't run out. So between the two bottles I have, that's 10 gallons.
Mm.
Now, I'm not the only person that drinks this. I share it with my family, so it goes a little bit faster. But we can use a large amount of water, and it lasts a while. So nobody's worried about, am I going to be drinking too much and taking it away from somebody else or whatever. That's a very big deal. Is you have to have water available to be able to drink. It does a couple other things for me. I like a little bit cooler water. There's a lot of health benefits to having room temperature water that isn't hot or cold. Um, Honestly, if I let water sit on my desk for too long and it gets room temperature, it's a lot less satisfying to drink. So it's a whole mental game in that sense. But being able to control the temperature is something that I enjoy. So it has a cold spout. It also has a hot spout on it. So if I also want to double up and use this for tea or coffee or something like that, hot chocolate, whatever you want to have, it gives me that flexibility as well. So it's also fairly cheap. This source right here, I pay $30 a gallon. So if I fill my whole $10 or my whole 10 gallons, it's about $3. So it's actually cheaper than going to buy 1 liter of water in the store. I can get
Yeah.
10 gallons. So the bad side of this is, number one, is I have to refill it manually, and these jugs are a little bit heavy. So it gives me a good reason to work out and stay in shape, so I can keep myself, set up with some water. You do also need to clean them periodically, so you want to make sure that you're keeping everything clean and not developing any kind of bacteria, that sort of stuff. But based on the pros and cons balance for sources of water, this is the one that I choose, bar none. It's not even close for me. Some of the other ones that people do use is the container versions. So they are water filtration systems, whether it's one that sits on the counter, or you fill up and put in your fridge, or a little spout that goes, connects to the faucet or whatever it may be. You're pouring water out of your kitchen sink into some kind of filtration jug
Like
or
the Brita, that's the
exactly.
one that is known. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Brita or Pure Water or whatever the brand may
Mm.
be,
Yeah.
they're all kind of the little handheld systems, or small filtration system. The negatives for me is usually volume.
Yeah.
So if you've got to fill this thing up and let it filter through and do all this, it takes a while, and then you only get a little bit of water. You can pretty much go through that in a day if you're staying hydrated. So that's also not sharing. So if you want to have everybody have their own little, jug of water, that can take up half your fridge. So it's important to, again, look at the time that it takes to put that source together and maintain that source.
Mm.
The smaller the source, the more frequently you have to pay attention to refilling it. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I really like this, is it gives me mass volume. A bigger mass volume system is a whole house system. So a lot
Uh-huh.
of people put in water filtration systems like out in the garage, and it connects to the whole water house
Mm.
system. Number one, that's very, very expensive. Number two is they take up a huge amount of space in your house. And number three is it connects into all of the water, so then it's a whole different system. So those are a lot more complicated. There are less maintenance up front, but again, they're a big mechanical system that can break down, and you probably need somebody else to come in and install it and maintain it. And filters have to be constantly put in, and they're very expensive. There's a lot of negatives to having that big of a system. The other one is simple tap water. All right, this is probably borderline with my other least frequent usage of water sources, which is plastic bottled water. So you can buy it pre-bottled and have it given to you. Again, volume is very small. You're paying a lot for the quantity that you're getting. You're creating things that are environmentally not good.
Yeah.
They can break down and do some things. So whether you pour it out of the kitchen faucet, or buy it already bottled up, or put it in your own jug or whatever, for me, all of those kind of are downplays to having this system right here. So long story short, I like to have enough water to make sure that I'm not going to run out. It's at the temperature that I enjoy, and that I'm not really paying a lot, and I'm not consuming a lot of time to sort of maintain this. Okay. So source is very, very important. Getting that set up so that you don't run out and it's something that you enjoy doing. That is the first step to making sure you stay hydrated.
I have a question about that,
Sure.
Sean.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned the tap water, and of course, most people know that filtered water would be a much better option. But for someone that doesn't have any system or any filtering system, it's better still to drink tap water than not drinking water, isn't it?
Yes, in most cases. Now,
Mhm.
if you live in like Flint, Michigan, or somewhere that has a very high level of usually metals, there is usually trace metals and minerals that are in water, in tap water, that in high concentrations, when you're drinking them consistently through the water, can build up inside of your body and cause some problems.
Mhm.
But if your only option for water is to drink it out of the tap versus to drink nothing, definitely I would recommend to go for the tap water,
Okay.
but only as a last resort. And
Yeah.
again, for me, this machine over here costs about 150 bucks one time. If you keep it clean, they last for years. Um, the water itself, like I said, is 30 cents a gallon. The jugs I paid probably 25 bucks for both of them. So to get the machine, fill two jugs is less than 200 bucks, and then to maintain $3 every. I mean, I probably go through one of these a week, maybe.
Hmm.
So being able to have a very very low cost on the backside as that alternative. If your only access is, hey, I can't afford 200 bucks on my water, save up for it. Put put 15 bucks a month away, and at the end of the year buy yourself a water machine and a couple of
Christmas
bottles. So
present.
yeah, exactly, move yourself away from the tap water and upgrade your life. All right. So
Mm.
so definitely great question though. I haven't drank tap water in a really long time, mostly because I just can't stand the taste of it
Ah,
now. I'm
yeah.
so used to filtered water after years
Mm.
and years that it's very,
Mm.
very difficult for me to even consider that. But if that's where you're at, let's put together a plan to move you forward. So
Yes.
good stuff, though. All right, so number two, we're going to move on to the next one is delivery. Now, this is one of my favorite pieces because people are like, okay, now that I've got water, how I drink it doesn't matter. And it does. It very, very much does. So, the three kind of ways that people drink water is number one, for me, a refillable bottle, or for the other two options, a glass or a cup, or one of these plastic bottles that is pre-filled for you, and you drink it once and throw it away, or maybe you reuse them a few times or whatever, but they always end up getting thrown away. Okay.
Yeah.
So disposable bottles, a glass or a cup, or a refillable container of some sort. Now,
Yes.
for me, this is my number one choice. So this is very thick plastic. So this isn't going to get a hole punctured in it. It's not going to leak or whatever. But it's made out of high quality plastic that doesn't break down as easily. You put
Mm.
any plastic in the sun for long enough or in high heat, it will break down. That's just how plastic works. But this type of plastic is made from environmentally more friendly
Yeah.
plastic. Now, again, it's not the best in the world because it's still plastic, but compared to the thin, flimsy disposable bottles that you buy, a 12 pack of them at the gas station and drink them
Yeah.
and throw them away as you go, those ones carry a lot of negatives. Number one is they're going to end up in a landfill. Number two, if they get heated up in between, they start to release chemicals into the plastic. So then you're drinking negative things.
Yeah.
And number three is those are very small. Usually, you don't have very much water unless you get the big liter bottle of water, and then you're trying to carry around a big jug that kind of doesn't fit anywhere most of the time. So I really, really like these refillable bottles. And this is the brand that I use is called Contigo. I don't know if you guys can see
Yeah,
this.
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so
Contigo.
yeah, this brand has been around a long time, and they offer all kinds of different models. Okay, so it's like I have a Toyota Camry. Like Toyota is Contigo. The Camry version is this tip. This mouthpiece is called the Cortland. Cortland. Now, this is very important. Number
Okay.
one is you can close it so you can keep it, closed off so nothing gets in there.
Yeah.
You can actually lock it on the side over here so that you can't pour anything out. You have to unlock it. Number three is it has a release system. So there's a button that actually opens the thing. So even if it's closed, it doesn't spill.
Okay.
But the big piece for me is the way that this mouthpiece is designed is it only allows water to flow through it. So when I drink, I'm only drinking water and not drinking air at the same time. I can't really show you. It has a little vent system in the very
Oh,
top right
yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I'm drinking, it's actually releasing the air pressure. So if you try to turn up a water bottle, a regular one, it starts to collapse
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
has no way to actually release the air. It has to come into your mouth as you drink. If you're drinking out of a cup or a glass, you're open air. So your mouth is literally open to the air and you're inhaling air as you're drinking water at the same time. You can close your mouth completely around this and it has a vent that allows the air to come out as you drink. So you can get more water without feeling as full, which allows you to get hydrated easier.
Okay.
Okay, so this is very, very important for me. This Cortland Contigo. I actually have two of these. They come in different sizes. This one is my home bottle. I have several of these, a couple dozen probably. But this is a 32-ounce bottle. So when we look at staying hydrated, people always ask me like how much, and we're going to get into that later. But the general number for most people on a typical day is you want to consume at least 50% of your body weight in ounces of water. So I like that Mary Frances is writing this down. This is a key.
Yeah.
How much water do I need to take in? So, for example, if you're a 200-pound person on a regular day, you need 100 ounces of water. Okay. That may sound like a lot, but if I'm drinking a 32-ounce bottle right here, I got 3 of these in a day. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So um, I very typically drink probably 4 to 5 of these. And we're going to go into how I'm able to do that here in just a
Okay.
minute. But the delivery method is very important because as you're incorporating a consistency of drinking water, how you get it, obviously having enough is very important, but how you drink it and how you take it in is also very important so that you can do it without really having to pay attention to it too much. That's part of the magic of this is doing it enough times where it just becomes a habit that you don't have to think about. And if you're drinking some water and you're getting full at the same time, you're going to notice that fullness feeling and you're going to like typically that will create sort of a resistance where the next time you go to drink water, you're like, oh, I remember how full I got last time, and I don't want to do that to myself again. So I'm only going to drink a little bit. And you actually train yourself not to drink as much. So this is one of the solutions for that, where I can drink as much as I need to drink and I don't feel full. And because I don't have a bunch of air, I'm also not burping a lot and a lot of other things. So
Mm.
um, delivery source very important for me, or delivery method is these specific Contigo bottles. I have a 32-ounce one for home so that I can have a lot of water here on my desk all the time. Okay, again, how much you have access to is very important. So one of the tricks that I was telling Mary about earlier is I don't let my bottle get empty. I let it get halfway down, and this is almost halfway, and then I fill it back up. Okay, it's like topping off your tank. Okay.
Yeah.
When you have a gas tank in a car, there's actually a lot more benefits to keeping it on the top half of the tank than waiting until it gets empty and then filling it halfway up.
Mm-hmm.
It costs you the same amount of money, but it lets the thing perform higher. But this allows me to never run out of water. So when I get halfway empty, I fill it back up. So again, I've got a large access at home, but this bottle is fairly big. So when I go in the car, it doesn't fit in a cup holder. So I have these 24-ounce bottles that still give me a good amount of water. It's all the same benefits, but it's got a
Yeah.
slimmer bottom to it. So this way I can take it with me. So if I don't have my water with me, I prepare for how long I'm going to be gone. Sometimes I take 2
Mm-hmm.
or 3 of these with me. Number one is I don't know how long I'm going to be gone. I don't want to run out of water. And number two is when I have water around me, my family usually drinks more water too. so having a good amount is not only good for me, but it's good for everybody else. So these fit in the car really well. Nobody spills them. They're fantastic. So Delivery method, highly recommend these Contigo Cortland bottles specifically. I'm not sponsored by them, but if you want a referral link, I can send you one of those. So, all right. So number 3 is frequency. All right. So we talked just a second ago about how much water you're supposed to drink. We're going to go a little bit deeper into that here in just a minute. But how often should I be drinking water? So if I'm trying to get that 100 ounces in a day or whatever your number is, and again, I'm going to go into that in a little bit more depth. But if we're looking at 100 ounces, how do I break that up throughout the day? It's not an even number. Your body doesn't need the same amount of water all the time. So how often you drink water and when is very important. So frequency, number 1 for me, is consistency is always better than quantity.
Yeah.
A little bit into your body all the time is better than having to catch up and chug a bunch. For multiple reasons. Number 1, our body works on a process called homeostasis, which is trying to even out the balance of how things are inside of our body all the time. That's why when you get sick, your body kicks into overdrive to get you better. It does some things, and I'm not going to get too scientific, but that's kind of the way we operate. Okay, so trying to stay at that balance level, it puts a lot less pressure on your body to have to get you back to that level from dehydration to hydration. So consistency is always better than quantity. So staying consistently drinking water is one of the things that I found is the easiest way to drink water and to stay hydrated. So the very first thing for me is number 1, I drink water in the morning first thing, but only after I brush my teeth. I'm going to give you a little bonus. Brush your teeth before you drink anything in the morning, especially your tongue, so that you remove the bacteria that has built up overnight before you start swallowing stuff. So very important to brush your teeth before you drink any water. But after I brush my teeth, then I'm going to go ahead and drink my water. Number 1, because I've got some vitamins and supplements that I take as part of my morning startup process, and I need some water to be able to do that. But number 2 is I drink water first thing in the morning because I've gone all night sleeping. And if you want to, look at our sleep thing, check out our last week's talk. We went into sleep fairly well, but through that sleep cycle, I haven't drank any water. And really, I probably haven't drank very much water for a couple hours even before I went to sleep. So I've been a really long period of time without any intake. And between just breathing, we expel water vapor just from breathing. We sweat. Our body processes and uses it. Maybe you got up in the middle of the night to pee, whatever it may be, you're getting rid of water and using it all night long. So we want to refill our tank. So we want to start in the morning with a good amount of water. For me, again, I take my trusty home bottle, I make sure it's full, and I drink half of this. So that's 16 ounces of water. Now, a 16-ounce amount is like a typical refillable bottle, a disposable, or not refillable, disposable bottle. So you buy the little 16.9 ounces, it's a half a liter bottle. That's about half of this. Okay, so this is about a liter of water. I drink half of this before I go on my walk. So I go on a walk usually for 20 to 60 minutes in the morning, depending on what I'm doing. And then when I get back, I drink the other half. Okay, because when I went out on my walk, I probably used a bunch of water and I'm bundled up, so I'm probably sweating.
How many ounces again it is?
So this total bottle is 32. So I drink half, which is about 16 ounces before my walk, and then I drink the other 16 when I get back.
I think it's about 1 liter because we're in liters. About 1 liter.
Yep, just about a liter. It's a little bit short of a liter. I think a liter is right close to 34 almost. So just about a liter of water. But within the first hour of my day, if I'm doing 100 ounces of water, I just got a third of it. Before I even really start my day. Okay. So I'm a big chunk of the way into, my water consumption. So now after that, again, consistency is way more important than quantity. I have reasons for pushing large quantities in the morning, but the rest of the day, I really try to stay away from taking in a whole bunch of water all at once. Number 1, our body can only absorb so much. It's about a liter per hour. And
Oh,
that's going from, a full dehydration state. All right. So if you're fairly hydrated already, you don't have room to absorb a whole liter of water. You only have room to absorb a little bit.
yeah.
So as we go throughout our day, we actually need to drink less in quantity each time. So
Mm-hmm.
one of my magic tricks is to use my phone. I've actually set this up and I have a whole little system that I had to develop for myself to follow so that I can make sure I stayed hydrating while I was working. Because sometimes I get into work and I work on the computer and I start paying attention to things and I forget what I'm doing, and an hour or two goes by and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, now I'm really thirsty. And this is also something we were talking about, is if you wait till you're thirsty, you're already in a dehydration state.
Yeah.
You shouldn't want to chug a bunch of water because you feel like you're dehydrated before you actually drink water. So we want to stay on that top end of the scale where we don't notice that
Mm-hmm.
we're dehydrated, because we're not. We don't feel that drive, that physical urge to want to drink water. We're going to create it systematically so that we never need to do that urge
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment. Okay? So what I do is I take the hours of the day where I'm working. So I start this in the morning about 7 a.m. and I set an alarm to go off at the top of every hour during my workday, and my last one goes off at 3 p.m. So at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and 3, I have an alarm that goes off at the top of the hour to remind me to drink some water. Very simple,
Yeah.
but scheduling time to drink water is one of the things that people overlook as not important enough. But again,
Mm.
if your health is important to you and your body is three-quarters made out of water, boy, it's a big part of being healthy. So we want to make sure that we stay on that consistency. So that hourly alarm reminds
Uh-huh.
me to drink some water. And again, people are like, well, how much water am I supposed to drink? Well, typically, and we'll kind of roll into topic number 4, which is quantity. People are always asking, how much, how much, how much? 50% of your body weight in ounces of water per day is the general amount for non-active days. So if you're
Okay.
not out going for a walk or exercising or hiking or whatever it may be where you're physically active, 50% will cover you. If you are active, then it usually goes up between 60 and 70% of your body weight in ounces per day. Okay.
Okay.
So for me, a 200-pound person, I'm pushing more like 120 to 140 ounces per day. So again, maybe one more bottle.
Yeah.
It's not really like a significant difference for me, but I get a big chunk in the morning, and then throughout my day I have this alarm go off. And here's a little trick for you guys. If you're setting this alarm, use a different ringtone for each alarm.
Huh?
The reason I tell you this is because if you have the same alarm go off every single day, every single hour for multiple hours,
Get
after a
used.
few days, you tune it out. You learn
Yeah.
to ignore it, or you just turn it off and you don't do the thing. So a different alarm triggers you differently every single hour. So it gets your attention a lot more. You're a
Yeah.
lot more likely to fulfill
Mm-hmm.
the dream. So when it comes to how much, again, this is a generalization based on how much you need. But for me, I drink 4 to 8 ounces at the top of every hour. My magic number is 4, not ounces, swallows.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
just take 4 big swallows out of my drink. It's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's exactly 4 or 6 or 8 is not really the point. Okay, there is no trophy for getting 160 versus 140.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
we're not really that necessary to be microscopic with the ounce number. We want
Yeah.
to have a goal to shoot for so we know we're in the ballpark range. But staying consistent on the water intake will help you stay close. And the quantity of how much you're drinking is something that is a little bit more simplistic to range. Okay. And it's not based on how much is in your bottle. It's based on what color is your pee.
Ah.
So it's a little bit, sensitive information, but when you go to the bathroom and you pee, if your pee is even a little more than a tinge yellow, okay, if it's very noticeably yellow, you are dehydrated.
Uh-huh.
The other part of this is if you're peeing more than 2 times an hour, then there's probably too much in your body. So
Ah,
this allows you, based on frequency of urination and color of urination, whether you are at the top or the bottom of the scale. If you're peeing more than twice an hour and it's purely clear, you probably got too much going on. You can only absorb so much and your body's going to release whatever that extra is.
ah,
But if you don't have enough, you probably haven't peed in a few hours and it's probably pretty dark when you go. Okay, so you want to stay on the clear-ish side. A little bit of yellow is okay, but we don't want more than just a tinge. Okay, just a little bit. All right. So, but without going too far into that, that's how you can tell what your quantity needs are. And
mm,
this is going to vary depending on how much you weigh, how active you are, um, and also what kind of food you eat. And I don't want to get into that too much, but if you have high levels of sodium in your system, you actually will retain water a lot more easily than
yeah.
somebody who doesn't have a lot of salt in their system. Okay, so
Mm,
depending on what kind of diet you're on, so if you're on a low carb keto type diet that doesn't really have a lot of salt in it, you may actually need to drink even more water because your body isn't retaining it as much. So you
mm,
have to stay more consistent with that
yeah.
refill process. Okay, so again, starting at the top, breaking it all the way back down. Source number one for me, a water cooler blows them away. It's convenient. It's got large quantities. It's relatively inexpensive. I get control of the actual temperature of it. It's filtered, so it has a great flavor, so it's desirable for me. It's got all the things I'm looking for. The delivery method, these Contigo Cortland bottles, specifically for the fact that they allow you to drink water and not have a bunch of air coming in. The frequency for me, I make sure that I'm consistently drinking water throughout the day. One of the things that I didn't mention that I forgot to, and we'll go over now, is one of the things I call volume chugging. So if it has been an hour or two and you notice, hey, I'm really thirsty, don't drink 4 to 8 ounces. Drink as much as you can until your stomach is just full. Okay? You want to rehydrate. You're not going to be able to drink a whole liter of water, but your body probably has the ability to absorb just about that much. So even though you feel full, we're like, oh, I drank way too much water. If you are at a stage where you notice that you're thirsty, your body is ready to absorb. And so within 5 minutes or maybe 10, depending on your body, you're not going to feel full anymore, but you're going to be well back on the way to hydration
Uh-huh.
and you've sort of caught up. So don't rely on the catch up method with frequencies. Stay consistent and put that, even amount into your body with a couple of swallows at the top of every hour. And then quantity wise, again, depending on how much you weigh, how active you are, different factors. You want to get between 50 and 70% of your body weight in ounces of water every day, stretched over the time frame of the day. Okay, so the
Yeah.
earlier you can get hydrated, the easier it is to stay hydrated throughout the day. And the better you stay hydrated throughout the day, the less likely you are to want to volume chug towards the end of the day, especially towards nighttime sleep,
Yeah.
which then can have a negative impact on the quality of your sleep.
Obviously, yes.
So it's a very, very consistent cycle that we go through with when and how much we're drinking, where we get our water from, and how we're putting it into our body.
And Sean, you just mentioned about when you do drink quite a lot at the time, you do feel full. So what I've heard as well is that it might be a good idea if you're trying to lose weight or control what your quantity of food is to have a good drink of water before the meal, I think. Isn't
That
it?
is that is a very common tactic to make sure that you have, first of all, hydrated yourself. A lot of times when we feel like we're hungry, we're actually thirsty.
Yeah.
Our body is trying to tell us, I need intake, but it's activating in the stomach instead of in like the throat or the glands, where a lot of times, which is where we feel thirst is up here. If it's in the stomach, a lot of times it's also a trigger for thirst. So
Mm,
simply drinking that water, you can not only help rehydrate yourself, but you can eliminate that sensation of hunger and you physically fill up some space inside of your stomach, so
Yeah.
you have less ability to put food into your stomach
Mm.
and want to continue to stretch that stomach out, right? So that is a big piece of it. It's also one of those tactics between meals. So yes, pre-meal preparation is great, but if you're feeling hungry in between meals, a lot of times all you have to do is drink some water and it will hold you off for another half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour,
Yeah.
whatever, until
Mhm.
it's actually time to eat another meal, not just because, oh, I haven't eaten in a while. A
Mm.
lot of times, a lot of times we eat because we're bored, not because we're hungry. And we have an internal time clock where our body says, "Oh, it's been a while. Give me some more." Not because
Yeah.
you actually need it. That's just what we've conditioned ourselves to do. So we can replace those need for time intakes by putting in water. It's not going to hurt you calorie wise, and it's going to actually do a lot of beneficial things for you. So, yeah, you can definitely use water to your advantage in a lot of ways.
Something so simple, drinking water, but we've learned so much,
Yeah,
Sean. Good, so many good little tips on how to make sure that we have all the water that we need through the day. And it's so easy to just ignore or keep busy and continue to do what we do if we don't have the water ready available on our desk or wherever, whatever you do. And so it's so crucial to drink all the water, filtered water if we can, of course.
yeah,
But yeah, drink the water. So thank you so much. It's been really, really very informative. And Sean, how can we get hold of you if someone wants to reach out?
sure. Currently, the easiest way to get a hold of me is on Facebook. If you want to connect with me as a friend, send me a message there. I'm always available that way. I'm also currently working on a walking challenge. So, this is a 30-day walking challenge we started last week, going fantastically. But that's another way to kick off a little bit of focus on your health being a priority and including some of these pieces that allow us to micro progress towards an actual healthy lifestyle. So, you can go over to challengewalking.com, get in on our challenge stuff, and you can talk to us through there as well. Water is such a big piece of this that I haven't included in it in that, but I do have access to a lot of the training. I sort of surface level everything, but I do have bigger training packages that go around all of these pieces in health and wellness. So if you have some questions, definitely hit me up on Facebook or join our walking challenge, and we'll be glad to help you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all the good advice today. And we will be back again next week with another topic with Sean. So thanks everybody for listening. And thank you so much, Sean, for sharing this valuable information with us. We'll see
You
you
got
next
it.
week.
See you guys.
Thank you.